My father always told me that honest people have nothing to fear in a courtroom. He said it like a prayer, calm, confident. Every single time the subject of fairness or justice came up at dinner, he'd lean back in his chair, fold his hands, and say those exact words. Honest people have nothing to fear in a courtroom, sweetheart. I believed him for 26 years. I stopped believing him on a Tuesday afternoon in October, the day I sat in the back row of a courtroom and watched my father look a jury of 12 strangers in the eyes and lie. Not stumble, not misremember, not exaggerate. Lie. Deliberately, carefully, and completely. And what he didn't know, what none of us knew yet, was that the woman sitting behind the bench in her black robe, the woman with the reading glasses and the quiet authority, she already knew everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name is Dina. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. And my father, Marcus, was the kind of man that everyone respected. He owned a mid-sized construction company, sat on the local church board, coached youth baseball for 12 years. People would stop him in the grocery store just to shake his hand. I idolized him. I really did. My mother passed when I was 9, and after that, it was just the two of us, Dad and Dina against the world. He was strict, yes, old-fashioned, absolutely. But I never doubted that he loved me, and I never doubted that he was a good man. That belief became the foundation of everything I was. So when the lawsuit started, when my father's business partner of 15 years, a man named Gerald, filed a civil suit against him for fraud and asset concealment, I was furious. On my father's behalf, I called Gerald a liar. I cut off his daughter, who had been my friend since elementary school. I stood in the driveway with a support Marcus sign the day the local paper ran the story. I was all in. My father, for his part, was composed, reassuring. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying that look on the judge's face, that quiet, knowing stillness. I'd been watching courtroom drama since I was a teenager. I knew what a judge looked like when they were bored, when they were skeptical, when they were annoyed. This was none of those things. This was something else entirely. I called my father around midnight. He answered on the second ring, which surprised me. He was usually asleep by 10. Dina, you okay? Dad, I just wanted to check in. You seemed tired today. I'm fine. The testimony went well. Lawyer's happy. Try to get some rest. He said it quickly. Too quickly. And then he said something that hit me strangely. Don't talk to anyone about the case. Not friends, not family, okay? Just keep your head down. I said okay. I hung up. And then I sat in the dark for a very long time. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before in my life. I went behind my father's back. I called Gerald's daughter, my old friend Priya, whom I hadn't spoken to in nearly a year. I half expected her to hang up. Instead, she answered, and her voice was tired. 3 days later, the forensic accountant filed her report. It was 47 pages long, and it didn't just confirm what Priya had told me, it found more. A secondary account that hadn't appeared in the original discovery. Transfers that had been rerouted through a company my father had set up under my late mother's maiden name. He had used my dead mother's name to hide stolen money. That's the sentence I had to read 3 times before I could breathe again. Gerald's legal team moved immediately. a supplemental filing, a request to delay closing arguments. The judge granted it without hesitation. And when she spoke from the bench that morning, her voice was measured and precise, but her meaning was crystal clear. The integrity of this proceeding depends on complete disclosure. We will proceed accordingly. My father's lawyer requested an emergency sidebar, then another. The calm, practiced composure I'd watched all week began to crack at the edges. I sat in the back row and I watched the man I'd spent my entire life defending quietly unravel. The jury was out for less than 4 hours. They came back with a verdict in Gerald's favor, full damages, plus legal fees. But that wasn't the end. Because Judge Calloway, 20 years in financial fraud prosecution, the judge my father had never bothered to research, had been making her own notes the entire trial. 2 weeks after the civil verdict, my father was referred for criminal investigation. Perjury, fraud. The case is still ongoing as I speak to you now. I won't pretend I felt triumphant when I heard. I didn't.